Hey guys, happy first week of school. I know you're all really excited about your vocab, I'm sure. But this vocab is going to look a little different because it is flipped, which means you are going to be listening to videos that I have pushed out to all of y'all and taking your notes that way. So this is going to be a list of SAT words that are only going to help you, and at the very end, a mix of roots and stems. I'll talk a little bit more later about why those are beneficial, but your job in this really is to listen to what I'm saying and to take notes on each of your words because you will have a vocab quiz on Friday. So make sure you are taking notes for the word itself and the definition and the example. So make sure you're writing everything down. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first word we have here is acquiesce. Go ahead and say it with me. Acquiesce. And it's a little tricky to say, but it means to give in and to agree peaceably or to comply. That can also be considered as a noun when it's changed into acquiescence, the quality of being able to agree or be peaceful with someone else. So our example says, when Dad set 1 a.m. as our curfew, my sister Amy and I acquiesced because we knew he meant business. For me, it's easier to acquiesce than to argue forever, which I hate. Okay, so typically once you get these words, I want you to say the word out loud with me. So go ahead and say acquiesce. I know it feels kind of awkward. One more time. Okay, and make sure that you are writing down the definition, the fact that it can also be a noun, and our example sentence. Alright, I am going to go ahead and move on just to keep things rolling. But obviously, because you're going to have this on a video, you're going to want to pause the screen so that you can write everything down. Okay, so we'll keep moving. Number 2, our verb is to chastise. So that means to scold severely or punish, to castigate or censure. Those are our synonyms, okay? And so every day we chastise Macho, my insanely brave 5-pound Yorkshire Terrier. Okay, so this example is about Macho. We have to chastise Remy for entirely different things. He's a little crazy. All right. Our next verb is augment. Say it with me, augment. To increase or to make something greater or bigger. Dad said, Ted, I'll augment your allowance for your senior year in return for more help at home. That could mean major labor, but I have to augment my savings before college. Our next verb is condone. To overlook or pardon an offense. To excuse. For too long, our family has condoned Macho's mad dog tendencies. We keep making excuses for him, unlike my high school principal who rarely condones behavior. Okay? Amass, to accumulate, collect, to gather, to come together. I don't need to amass a huge fortune, but a bit of extra money would be nice for camping gear, of course. That would always be nice. To disseminate, to disperse or spread everywhere, knowledge or ideas usually, as if you're sowing seeds. So our school paper, the Bun Hi Hi, tries to disseminate the information all students need. Okay, that's a really awkward name for a school newspaper. Coalesce, not to be confused with our early word acquiesce, but coalesce. Go ahead and say that with me. Coalesce. To mix or come together from separate elements. Thoughts about my last editorial finally coalesced into one good idea that was finally published during my final week of high school. So anything that comes together to coalesce. To concur, you all probably all know this one, but that means to agree, to approve, or to coincide. So after much discussion, our family concurred on a camping site for the next summer. Ooh, this is a good one. Digress. Okay, this is not usually my problem. My husband is much more of a talker than I am, so he gets into trouble with this. But to digress means to wander off course in speaking or writing, and that means to take a rabbit trail or to just go off in a completely different direction. Usually, when people digress, it turns into a long story that they didn't really intend to tell. So our example says, I often digress into related topics as I get into a speech. I think these digressions are humorous, but my teacher has started saying, Maggie, if you keep digressing, I'll take points off. You must stay on topic. So we'll see how some of you all end up doing that in your writing. We'll work it out. Okay. Laud, to praise, commend, acclaim, or extol. So this is like a big fancy word to like praise somebody else for. So we rarely say, you are to be lauded for that achievement anymore, favoring the word praised or commended instead. So it's a fancy word for that. To disperse, which means to spread all over, to disseminate, also to fan out or scatter in a random way. With the promotion of the school events as one goal, we dispersed copies of the school newspaper to each class. Senior parade, y'all dispersed silly string all over my door last year, and it is still there. But you all probably know this word. To efface, to erase or obliterate, to wear away as by time. So I'm counting on time to efface the memories of when I made a total idiot of myself, just as weather has gradually effaced the harsh or exaggerated features of nature. So this is kind of a tricky one. You can think about like if graffiti has been on a wall for a long time and people try to wash it off. You're trying to like wear it away. So that would be an example of efface. Um, okay, now we get to our stems part. Don't freak out. So roots and stems are usually the first part or the last part of the word. The purpose that we are including these in our vocab is because that way, once you understand a root or a stem, once you see that root or stem in real life, you won't even have to look at your smartphone or look up a word, because since you know what that root means, you'll be able to understand what the rest of the word means based off context. Okay, so these stems are just like your vocab, but just go ahead and make a note at the bottom of your vocab notes, stems. And let's get started with this first one. You'll have about 2 a week. But this first one is cur, or cur, double R, or course. And each of these stems mean the same thing. They mean to run or a course. So these are a couple examples of words that include this stem. And so cursory is like sketchy or not thorough. It's hasty or superficial. A cursory glance, a regrettably cursory ending. Okay, that means it basically hasn't run its course. It's not thorough. It hasn't finished. The next one is precursor, a forerunner that hints at the future, harbinger. For example, the first robin is a welcome precursor of spring. These are some other words that are examples that include your stems: cursive, excursion, current, curriculum, discourse, incur, cursor, occur, concur, and discursive. And so whenever you're coming up with definitions of words based off of these roots or picking apart, make sure that that definition always goes back to the definition of the stem. It's always related to either to run or to course. Our next one is a little easier. It's miss or mit, and that means to send. Like to emit means to voice or give off, as in fumes of anger. Someone emitted a low groan. So they've sent or voiced those angry feelings. Emission standards for fumes that are sent out of factories or our vehicles. A mission is a definite job or task. The mission establishment itself, usually, oh boy, okay, remind me later. Go back, so sorry. Where are we, Google Chrome? Okay, we're back. So needing a clear mission, the old Adobe Jesuit mission, those are also related back to being sent. So also omit, omission, commit, commission, permit, permission, transmit, transmission, missive, and missile. Obviously, a missile is sent. Okay, so always relate those definitions back to the STEM definition. Okay? And finally, we have our word bank. Don't worry about writing all this down right now. We'll talk more about that later. But congratulations, you just finished your first round of vocab. Very proud of you guys.